Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. We are about to start a new series. Okay. Myself, along with, as you see, Mr. Bill Schuster, are going to be counting down our top 30 prog tracks. Yes, 30 prog tracks. Blame Bill for this idea. But what we're going to do is we're going to do this in three segments. So 10 tracks per episode. All right. But before we begin, I want to say hello to Mr. Bill Schuster. How are you doing, Bill?
Armando. I am doing quite well for the usual lack of sleep and everything. So yeah, I'm,
There you
I'm ready
go.
to roll. I'm feeling very proggy, very epic.
There you go.
Everything's bigger,
There you go.
bigger, longer, more fantastical.
That's a good
Side of
way to put it.
cheese.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Okay, guys. Like I said, we are going to be counting down our top 30 prog tracks. Again, we're going to do this in three segments. So, as is customary with these episodes, I will give the virtual mic again over to Mr. Bill Schuster, and he'll start with his number 10 of his top 10 prog tracks for part one.
All right, thank you, sir. I do want to give a quick mention to. I got the spur of the idea for this came from a gentleman named Jim Bricker on Twitter, who's currently doing his top prog 30 is the hashtag that he uses, and there's a number of us that have been taking part in it. So that's what inspired this. So I just wanted to tip my hat to him. And when I heard he was doing that, that sent me down this road and had me looking through well over 100 potential tracks. And yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bricker. Fantastic idea. So,
All right. Now we've each decided to order these differently. I know Armando has his own method. Mine, I'm not doing this best to worst, worst to best chronologically. I'm doing it in Prague tradition from the shortest to the longest. And my first track is the only one that's under 10 minutes. And it's actually 9 minutes and 54 seconds. So it's really close.
okay.
My first track is a cover song. And this band is well known for their covers of especially Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan. You know where I'm going, don't you, folks? It's Manfred Mann's Earth Band. This is the album Solar Fire, and the song is Father of Day, Father of Night, which, in the hands of author Bob Dylan, was essentially just a short acoustic sketch. And as they always did so amazingly well, Manfred Mann's Earth Band turned it into something way beyond what the original author ever intended or imagined.
Okay.
They turned it into this gorgeous epic, of course, with Manfred Mann's amazing organ and synth playing. Mick Rogers was on vocals at this time, their original vocalist. Chris Slade on drums, Colin Patton on bass. This is well, it's epic. It's gorgeous. It's one of the best songs they ever did, I think, and they it was almost a throwaway from Dylan, just such a simple little toss off, but they really turned it into something. It's a lovely song, and as I said, it's the only one under 10 minutes on my whole countdown, and that's just barely. So yeah, Father of Day, Father of Night by Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Okay. That's a good choice. It's a good choice. My first choice, again, for me, Bill chose in terms of shortest to longest in terms of track length. I have no criteria. I just picked the tracks that I liked and I just put them all together sort of haphazard. And this is number 10. Anthony Phillips from The Geese and the Ghost from 77, the title track. 16 minutes, parts one and two of The Geese and the Ghost. I did I did an episode featuring this album called Is This Prog? Yes, this is very much prog. I think listening to Anthony Phillips, I think he's sort of like an unsung hero from Genesis. He was a member of the original band lineup, and he had to leave due to issues he was having with stage fright. He chose to write this album, and the, the album was released in 77, but the tracks go back to 72 when the band were working, Genesis were working on Foxtrot. Also, Mike Rutherford contributes to this album on production and instrumentation and songwriting. This track alone is mixes acoustic instrumentation, minstrel instrumentation, different sections, and it is very prog in terms of what is considered prog, different time signatures, different movements. It is a fantastic track. You can get this album on Amazon, The Geese and the Ghost. Even as you can tell when from the graphics that you're going to see, um, it is very much a prog based track and a very much a prog album. So my first choice is Anthony Phillips with The Geese and the Ghost parts 1 and 2.
Very nice.
I should say also clocking in, I don't know if I did say clocking in at a mammoth 16 minutes plus. So sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, for fans of early Genesis, definitely. Yeah, this is, yeah,
Yeah.
if you haven't heard it, why not?
Yeah. Check it out. I should also quickly say there's a 3 disc set reissue on Esoteric Records. Uh, and it's great. It's fantastic.
All right. My next one has no 3 disc set here. It's just a simple single disc, old school record. It's by this band. You guys recognize them? If you know them, they're pretty visually recognizable. It's Kansas with the title track from Song for America, which is first one over the 10-minute mark, 10 minutes and 1 second. Yeah, this is one of my favorite Kansas songs. It's one of their best ever, I think, lyrically and musically. Lots of changes, like any good prog song, but it's interesting lyrically. Kerry Livgren looks at the founding of the United States as a country, basically, and he views it through less than a rosy lens. So he's very critical, but also clearly does it with love at the same time, which is not always easy to do. To criticize something you love, I think he straddles that line nicely in this song.
Mhm.
But, yeah, so the lyrics are strong, but yeah, music, even if it had no lyrics and no great vocals from Steve and Robbie, it would still be great as an instrumental track. This is there are those people who don't think of Kansas as a prog band, say they have too much boogie. Wrong. Sorry, folks. These guys are the American prog band. That's the limb I'm going out on, and I'm just going to swing from it. So yeah, Kansas Song for America. Look at that cover. Come on,
It's a very striking cover. Yeah, I have that disc. I have that album. Yeah, it's a good one. All right, my number 9 in part 1 of this list is, see, guys, we're going to go all over the map internationally here. We're going to go from England to Italy to Australia, back to Canada. And number 9 on this list for me is a band called Celeste from Italy, um, from their album from 1976. It's listed as self-titled on some sites, but it's also has the name of Principe per un giorno, meaning Prince of a day, or Prince. Hold on, I got it screwed up, guys. Prince de un giorno, meaning Prince for a day. So, Celeste. What I've noticed with the Italian prog bands, I apologize, guys, is that they use a lot of acoustic instrumentation, a lot of acoustic guitars, but also mellotron galore. Okay. This is a beautiful, lush track, a lot of use of mellotron, keyboards, acoustic guitar, um, very epic. I do believe it's just over the 6 minute mark. And yeah, it is a good album to pick up. You can pick it up on Amazon too. So again, Celeste with Principe di un giorno. Sorry,
I'm glad you had to pronounce it.
I know, I know. Principe. It does mean prince. So prince for a day.
All right, I'm going to go reference Aunt Phillips here. It's not an Aunt Phillips solo track, but Aunt had a hand in writing this one. It's the musical box from Genesis,
Hmm.
from Nursery Crime. Uh, yeah, Aunt was already gone here. Steve Hackett had just joined the band for this album, as well as Phil Collins, of course. But Aunt, as well as the interim guitarist, whose name escapes me at the moment, make 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 something in between Aunt Steve. He was in there briefly. He also had a hand in writing this song, even though I
Okay.
can't remember his name at the moment. Um, so yeah, and then Steve came in and added more. So you had three different guitarists having a hand in the writing of the musical box, which is kind of cool. It's a unique. This probably has the most hands in the pot of any Genesis song in their history, looking at it from that perspective. Of course, this is a somewhat disturbing fairy tale horror story of a child who was murdered, of course, which the album cover represents. The CD loses this bit and cuts it off. You don't see the severed head that taken down by the croquet mallet by the one of the lead characters in the story.
Hmm.
But as this young girl murders her nursery mate with the croquet mallet, he comes back as a spirit through the musical box. And it's this odd, convoluted story about how he ages instantly into an old man. So he's essentially a child in an old man's body. And he comes up and he's lusting for this young girl who murdered him. And, well, yeah, Peter Gabriel got up to some oddball stuff back in the day. But it works. It's once you know the story and follow along with it, it makes a lot more sense as a whole. And if, this would carry on in their sets for many years to come in bits and pieces. But, it's I think their first masterpiece.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, it never really gets old for me. The whole band brings their A game. You can already tell Phil is going to be an excellent drummer. He already is,
Mm-hmm.
but really, it's a showcase for the whole band. It sets the album off and sets the classic lineup era off with a bang. Yeah, the musical box by Genesis.
That's a good one. That's a good one. My next one, number 8 is King Crimson with Frame by Frame. Um, Released, on Discipline, 1981. Um, this is what King Crimson Mark whatever reformation it
How
was.
many fingers?
It was something like 8 years between Red and Discipline. Different lineup featuring Adrian Belew and Tony Levin, along with Robert Fripp and Bill Bruford. I've always said that this album overall, in terms of the drumming, it's very sparse, you know, um, in terms of the percussion work. And th this track, frame by frame, you have that what I call a, a, a repetitive bass line that goes all through the track. It's just for me, it's very intoxicating. It kind of pulls you in when you listen to it, right? So, and I mean, Adrian Belew was also again worked with David Bowie by this point, Frank Zappa. There's a story that David Bowie took Adrian Belew from Frank Zappa, and Frank Zappa never forgave Bowie for it.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, I called him. The story goes was that when Bowie talked to Zappa about taking Adrian Belew, Adrian Belew referred to Bowie as Captain Tom instead of Major Tom because he did not like the fact that he was basically taking one of his best players. So this track overall, it's very, I call it infectious. Like it really gets you, like the bass line, the repetitive bass line. Fantastic work from Tony Levin on this, and a fantastic vocal from Adrian Belew. So that's my number eight.
Definitely out of the realm of an expected King Crimson choice. But
Yep.
there's more of that kind of thing to come, folks.
Still Prague.
There might be a few obvious ones along the way, but for the most part, not necessarily.
Yep. There you go. There you go.
All right. My number four. This one's up to, yeah, the musical box was 10 minutes and 30 seconds. This one's up to 10 minutes and 52 seconds. We're going up bit by bit. This is Fool's Overture. As you can see from the music there,
How did I forget that?
Supertramp from Even in the Quietest Moments.
Son of a bitch. How did I forget that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, this is a Roger Hodgson song, of course.
Yeah.
He of the high voice.
Hmm.
You either love it or hate it. I love it.
I love
Um,
it too.
yeah, Fool's Overture. It's basically the first half is a few sound bites and a bunch of instrumental stuff before the vocals even kick in, which is, well, that's a pretty proggy thing right there. The fact that you go halfway through a 10 and a half, almost 11-minute song without any vocals.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when they do, some of them are kind of goofy. The Joker Man, Spider Man, Blue Eyed Meanie kind of things. That one
Yeah.
takes me out of the moment sometimes when I'm there at Really Roger. That's the best you can come up with. But overall, the lyrics are quite good. And musically, it's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Crime of the Century is and always will be my favorite, well, album by anyone. Definitely by Supertramp, though.
Yeah.
But they were still at a high level at this point. I think a lot of people I seem to find look back on Supertramp now and kind of push them aside and say, "Oh, they're not as good as we thought." Nah, I disagree. I think they were absolutely excellent, and Fool's Overture is a good example of why.
Hmm.
And the covers were so cool too. I mean, come on, look at that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's literally the Fool's Overture. If you can see the writing there, it's the
On
music.
the sheet, music sheet. Yeah. 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 Because that was considered to be, I guess, the centerpiece of the album, like the anchor of the album, right? In terms of,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, Good choice. And by the way, guys, if you want to hear a good live version of Fool's Overture, Supertramp live in Paris. Get the double disc version. It's amazing. Love it. Okay. Um, my next one, number seven. We're going back to Italy, guys. For a 1973 release of a band by the name of Latte e Miele, meaning milk and honey. Uh, they released an album called Papillion in 73. And again, a lot of these bands, or a good amount of these bands, I don't know if I mentioned it, but a good amount of these bands were signed to Polydor in Italy for some reason. These are one of them. What we have here is the Papillion Suite, which is about 19 minutes and change. And, a lot of use of mellotron, a lot of use of organ and guitar, very intricate, very intricate drumming and time signature changes, but it's broken up by acoustic segments with the lead singer singing about the story of Papillion. Okay, and then it goes back into the instrumentation, the instrumental sections. But it's very good, very lengthy. Again, 19 minutes plus. I do believe it takes up all the side one, obviously. So yeah, that's my number seven.
nice. I am glad you're covering so many Italian bands because I am not, but I do. I love the stuff, the old
Yeah,
stuff and the new stuff. There's a lot of great Italian prog bands that have
yeah,
been all throughout the 20th century too.
yeah,
I mean, the 21st century, excuse me. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. My number five here is finally moving into modern times a bit. We're going to, if I can get my eyes to function, 2001. That's right.
There we go.
Uh, This is a band that started out as a Swedish death metal band, basically.
What is this with you in a death metal?
This is Opeth on their Blackwater Park album,
Oh,
and the
okay.
song is The Drapery Falls. If you're one of those folks that can't handle, growling Cookie Monster vocals, that kind of stuff, well, first I'd say get Damnation if you want to try to get into Opeth because it doesn't have any. But if you want to take a next step, check out the song The Drapery Falls because it has a nice balance of Michael Ackerfeld's beautiful, clean vocals and some growls also. And it also is a nice mix of their heavy chugging guitar type stuff and heavy drums and more kind of otherworldly acoustic spacey sounds. It's very melodic but also heavy, and yeah, it's the song that finally made me pull the trigger and get into the growling stuff and appreciate it as kind of another instrument, basically. So, yeah, the Drapery Falls by Opeth, and of course now they've gotten rid of the growls altogether on their last few albums.
Yeah, I have that album actually, and it was recommended to me by someone that I won't mention, but that I understand that halfway through the album is where they stop using the growling vocals and they go into the clean vocals full time.
Through this album, or
Yeah, I maybe I misunderstood, but I understood that halfway through that album, Blackwater Perk, that they stop at the growling vocals and they go into just using clean vocals, and that's where they stayed.
it's kind of a mix and match. Now the next two, they uh, Damnation and Deliverance, they were a set basically, but they were issued separately. Damnation was the all clean vocals, and Deliverance was all the heavy, growly stuff. And
Okay.
yeah,
So I misunderstood. Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. My next choice is Frost with an asterisk, with Day and Age. Released in 2021, their latest album, 8 tracks. Um, Frost were or are considered a neo-prog kind of type of band. Intricate arrangements, lengthy, passages, instrumental passages. This one track, the title track, just I call it a good mix between a good rhythm, heavy guitar, and keyboards, and just very melodic, but also expansive at the same time. It's a very layered track for me, and it's funny because between the keyboardist and the names are escaping me now, so forgive me, guys, and I'm sure you're going to slam me in the comments for that. But between the keyboardist and the guitarist, they almost sound vocally, they almost sound the same. Uh, there's a very slight difference in their vocal style, the way they sound. So, but it's a very good track and talks about basically, uh, how can I put this? Talks about basically have we as a society missed the plot? You know what I mean? And with the in the chorus, we're living in a day and age where the writing's on the wall. I mean, how much more clear can you get than that, right? That basically we've screwed up in some areas of our lives and society, and we need to do a better job. The question is, can we and will we do a better job? It's up to you. So that's my number 6, I believe it is.
thanks.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
one, two, three, four,
yeah.
five.
This is my number 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Um, yeah, I remember when their debut came out in like mid 2000s, the first decade there. Um, it made quite a splash on the modern prog scene. It got a whole lot of attention.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Oh, by the way, my last one, the Drapery Falls, was 10:53. My next one is 11 minutes 41 seconds, and it has a connection because this is by the co-producer of that Opeth album, who also appeared on that album, one Mr. Steven Wilson. But this track is a Steven Wilson solo song called "The Watchmaker" from this beauty, "For Raven I
Ah,
Refuse to Sing." Of course, this is I have the CD version also. This is the Blu-ray surround version. That's the only way to fly. This is his forte. This is what he does. You get even the cheap basic surround system. This sounds amazing. Just sit yourself right up in the middle of it all, and wow, let it take you away. The whole album, frankly, I really struggled to pick a song. Any of these songs, even a couple of the shorter ones, the only two shorter ones, really three shorter ones, could have made the cut. I went with The Watchmaker. It's a ghost story. It's about a man who got with a woman who he considered a temporary place filler. And he essentially spent his life with her. And he said, even though he never really loved her, he'll miss her.
yeah,
That's messed up. That is just sad and brutal and terrible. And wow. It's all
yeah,
kind of screwed up, but yeah,
yeah.
it's the kind of thing that this album is about. But as
Yeah.
I said, it's a ghost story. This whole album is full of ghost stories, and it's kind of a cliche, but I think this is the best thing Steven Wilson has ever done to this day.
Mm, hmm.
I like a great deal of his work, and I prefer his solo work overall to Porcupine Tree. I think this was the sweet spot in a brilliant run of solo albums. So, and I love the cover. That's just it's perfect. It's simple, but it gets the point across. So, and yeah, more of the interior spooky artwork. Yeah, but yeah, if you're going to get it, by all means, get the Blu-ray surround. That's the best way to experience this.
Yeah, I have that album. That whole album basically is an ode to Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, every song is basically a song about ghosts and murder, and it's just like it's definitely a fall album, like late October album with the with the leaves falling off the trees and it's cold outside, and it's just like what's that knock on the window? Like, what's that noise? Right? It's like, it is fantastic. It is a fantastic album, guys. And by the
And
way, Bill and I are going to be doing ranking the albums on Steven Wilson sometime in the future. Stay
I do
tuned.
want to shout to the band to just say that this is probably the best group of musicians that he ever surrounded himself with.
Yeah.
He deliberately made this as kind of a tribute to classic prog. He's famous for sometimes denying that he even had a prog influence or that Porcupine Tree
Yeah,
was
I
a
know.
prog band and all that crap. But
I know.
this is where he comes out and gets real with it and says, "Yeah, here you go. I love this stuff. This is." And yeah, the musicians, Nick Beggs on bass and Chapman Stick. You got Guthrie Govan is amazing on the guitar in this album. His leads are just gorgeous and really emotionally powerful. You got Adam Holdsman on all kinds of keyboards, of course, the amazing Marco Miniman on drums, and Theo Travis, flute, sax, clarinet. I mean,
If
wow,
that ain't a
can't
prog
beat this
album,
band.
if that's not a prog album, I don't know what the fuck is. I mean, in terms of,
Exactly. I mean, when you consider that Nick Beggs is originally from Kajagoogoo, I'm not too shy to mention that. How much more prog can it get?
I know. I know. I agree. That is a fantastic album. Yes, he laughs at me. Thank you, Bill. Okay. This one coming up is my number five because I did my count here. I'm like, yeah, I'm on number five right now. Um, we have Cathedral from their album I can't even see right now. My eyes are bad. Stained Glass Stories with the track Gong. Now, Cathedral are one of those, I guess, one-off US prog bands like in the 70s. These came out in 78. I do believe they're from LA. And you really didn't hear much about them. I mean, I didn't hear about this album until like a couple of years ago. this is the one instrumental track on the album, and thank God, because the vocalist for this band is not that great. I'm sorry. I prefer the instrumental tracks. But it's 6 tracks in all. And you know, fantastic, intricate track, use of keyboards and mellotron and intricate drumming. And at the very end of the near the end of the track, you hear them bang a gong on the track. So, um, and it clocks in at just like over 7 minutes and eight, well, 7 minutes and 8 seconds. So it's one of them. It's a lengthier track. The last track on the album is like 11 minutes, which I guess you'd say it's your classic prog track in terms of time length. But it is a good instrumental piece. Gong from Cathedral.
And now you put T-Rex in my head. Why do you keep doing this to me?
Hey, bang and gong, get it on, bang and
Oh,
gong, man. I mean, like hello.
at least it wasn't the power station, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, thank
But
God.
I digress. Oh, all right. My sixth choice for today. This is one when we were originally talking about this a while back, I told Armando I might cheat and choose two from a certain band and a certain album. Well, it's this band and this album. I'm only going to choose one. I'll just name drop the second one before I'm done, but I'm not going to go into detail on it. But
Mhm.
the one I chose is Late Night Salvation. It is 12 minutes and 16 seconds long. It's from 2005. The third or fourth album from Is, depending on how you count their albums. Their third one was a bit of a hodgepodge collection. But My River Flows, this is the band at full power. I'd mentioned them in our 1998 episode of our 90s series that we recorded earlier today.
Mhm.
This is the full official lineup with Paul Bremner finally joining on guitar. Well, actually, he had joined on the second album, but he's here now, as well as Laura Mead and Amory Burns, both on vocals, to join the Galgano brothers, Tom and John, on vocals. And of course, you got Greg and Brian on drums, two drummers, multiple vocalists. I mean, these guys have a very full sound, as you can imagine. And when you have four vocalists bouncing off of each other, doing harmonies, and they all sound great, they make some beautiful sounds together. Late Night
Mhm.
Salvation, though, comes across to begin with as a hard rock song right out of the gate. I mean, it just comes charging right out and hits you in the face.
Yeah.
And then it gets into a lovely, almost poppy chorus, a late night salvation radio station. Uh, but I'm going to scare you folks now because this song has a dual drum solo in the midst of it. It goes on for probably 3 or 4 minutes.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing. Don't be scared. I'm here to hold your hand. It's okay. Not all drum solos are created equal. This is very creative and melodic. Greg and Brian playing off each other. I don't know how much it was written out or how much they improvised, but it works. It's a great part of the song. I wouldn't normally endorse that particular move, but it's perfect for this. And then after the drum solo, they start rocking it up again, coming back in, building and building and building, and Paul's guitar is going crazy, and the vocals all come back in for this amazing harmony chorus and this. Yeah, it's a very emotional, powerful ride. Uh, yeah,
Sounds
Late
like
Night
it.
Salvation. It's this album as a whole is highly recommended. It's my favorite Is album. Um, and it's all over the map. It's very eclectic. They have short, lovely pop songs. They have In Between, and then they have Deafening Silence, which is the other song that I could have chosen. And it's like twice the length of Late Night Salvation, and has Amory and Laura doing gorgeous, gorgeous vocals together, and lots of beautiful piano work. So yeah, as my little honorable mention within this mention here, yeah, Late Night Salvation is the track, but Deafening Silence, you can look that one up too. And
Yeah.
yeah, if those two songs don't get you to buy this album, I don't know what will. Is they're one of my favorite modern bands of this whole century.
Okay. I
Probably
gotta check
top
them out.
five amongst bands in the 21st century for me.
I gotta check them out. I really do. My next one is Max Webster with Lily from their self-titled in Canada, called Hangover in the US. Max Webster, I've got to be, well, I mean, people call them, you know, Rush Jr. because they used to tour a lot with Rush. They would open for Rush, and it was signed to Rush's label in Canada as well as in the US. But Kim Mitchell as a guitarist, fantastic, fantastic. Virtuoso, in my very humble opinion. Lily is the last track on the album, clocking in at 7 minutes and change. Kim Mitchell's guitar work combined with, I should say, um, Terry Watkinson's keyboard work, amazing, intricate, textured, uh, time signature changes on this, like you would not believe. A lot of use of organ and what sounds like mellotron, just amazing, just beautiful. And yeah, Lily is on that one album, on the debut album, is considered to be the most prog-esque or prog track on the album. So that's my number, what, seven? It's like,
Let's see.
so you're going up and I'm going down. So no, it's yeah, it's mine. This one.
Yeah, yeah. We've each got three more to go for this
Yeah,
episode.
it's
That
perfect.
yeah.
It is good though. You guys really should check it out. You can stream it on YouTube. The I was gonna say Kim Mitchell album, the Max Webster album. But there was nobody named Max Webster in the band. It's just the name they came up with. So it
Next,
is
you're
a
going
good.
to tell me there was no Jethro Tull or Pink
There
Floyd.
isn't? No, I didn't know. The shame of it, the scandal. God. But no, Lily is a good track.
And Armando didn't pick that just because he is required by the Canadian government to have a certain amount of CanCon, Canadian Con.
Exactly. No, no. I did it because I wanted to. Justin Trudeau. There we go.
All right. I am going with, I'm feeling very lusty. Lust by Magenta from the album Seven. I had mentioned in my 1997 album of the year winner when our 90s series was Heaven and Hell by Joe Jackson, which was a concept album about seven deadly sins. I alluded to another album that was my other favorite concept album about seven deadly sins, and it's this one, Seven by Magenta. The song titles are, gluttony, envy, blah blah blah. You get the idea. But Lust is the one I'm choosing here. Again, this, like the Steven Wilson album that I mentioned earlier, I could have chosen any song off this. This is a perfect 10 album for me. Also, I would not change a note of it. This is the one that has, of course, it's a updated version with Adobe Digital Surround Mix and all that good stuff, so we can enjoy this in surround also because I love the album that much. Uh, this is Christina Booth on vocals. She's often been compared to Annie Haslam from Renaissance,
Yeah.
and in fact, Annie Haslam did a special single with the band at one point. So there you
Mhm.
go for that connection. Um, The music is written by Rob Reed. He's the main man of the band. On this album, his brother Steve Reed did the vocals. Later on some albums and songs, Christina would do her own. I mean, sorry, not the vocals, the lyrics. Christina would do her own lyrics later on rather than Steve doing them. But this is all Steve's lyrics here. And they kind of subvert the idea of the seven deadly sins. They take a different spin on each one rather than being obvious about them lyrically.
Uh,
In this particular song, Lust, it brings up Matthew Hopkins, who, if I recall correctly, was a famous witch hunter, uh, Puritan type. And it's a song about a witch, a Welsh witch, and she's burned at the stake. She was an herbalist and healer for her community. But as we go into the song, with Magenta is very openly highly influenced by Yes and Genesis in particular,
mhm.
and they've been very open with saying they're making music that their old favorites refuse to make anymore. So that'll give you an idea of their sonic palette generally. Um, but yeah, the witch in the track is being burned at the stake, and the song builds and builds, and then there's this moment where she's accepting of it. She's accepted her fate, and yeah, it's pretty powerful. I find it very powerful. It says, "Into your arms, my sister Luna," and the way that Christina sings it, yeah, it gets me. Yeah, it's I'm accepting death. I'm going on to whatever's next, and yeah, I know where I'm going and what's going to happen. It's okay. She's not afraid. Yeah. How that ties into lust, I'll let you all figure out yourselves. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a lust for power on Matthew Hopkins' part. Maybe it's a lust for killing. I don't know. But yeah,
Powerful.
yeah, it's
It
good
is
stuff.
powerful.
Every song on this album, though, is equally as good. And just a side, quick, amusing note: this used to be a song I put on my kids' bedtime music, and my daughter Olivia, who was probably 5 or 6 at the time at best, she listened to this song and she came up and said one day, "I'm going to change my name to Confess,"
Oh
because
God.
there's a line in there that's repeated, "Confess and save your soul." And she'd heard confess and thought it was a name. And so,
Yeah,
hi, Olivia. Confess.
I get it. Yeah. Mm. It sounds powerful.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a great album.
okay. I should check that one out too. I have the latest Magenta album. Um, that
That
came
one's
out a
good
couple of
too.
years
But
back. Yeah.
yeah,
My next one, guys, we're going back to Italy for this one, and forgive me for the bad pronunciation. The group is called Locanda delle Fate. Okay. The album title is translated into Maybe the Fireflies Don't Love Each Other Anymore. Okay. Progressive band from Italy. This is their 1977 release, again through Polydor. Their style is very much like Genesis, a la Steve Hackett era type of stuff. The lead off track is an instrumental, and I'm going to read it to you. A volte un istante di quiete, meaning basically in a quiet moment, in a moment of quiet. Sorry, I have to remember to rearrange the verb tenses and stuff. So when you speak Italian, in a moment of quiet is basically what it means. Again, beautifully done. A lot of mellotron and keyboard work, acoustic guitar, and it is an instrumental. It's just a lot of beautiful musical passages on this track. And again, it is very prog. So that's my next one.
very nice. Yeah, I would have pronounced it completely differently. So I would have butchered it. Absolutely. I've always called it Locanda della Fate.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is why I'm not picking Italian bands, folks.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
news. And I do love the Italian bands, though.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember though, the E on the end of fate is a, like, fate, like, So, anyways, I know what you're saying though, because when I saw it,
Locanda della Fate.
I you did it.
The
Man.
Americanized pronunciation.
There you go, guys. There you go. Okay,
Let
moving
the
on.
Americans strike again. Okay.
Ah, ah, go on.
All right. I'm going back in time. My last few have been modern. I'm going back to the 70s again. I used to be a smoker, and my favorite brand for years when I was younger was this.
Ah,
Yeah, they got in trouble for this album cover.
yeah, they
RJ
did.
Reynolds, the company behind Camel Filter cigarettes, did not appreciate them appropriating the image of their cigarette pack. But this is an absolutely brilliant album. And of course, the song I'm picking is probably their most well known song, Lady Fantasy, which comes in at 12 minutes and 45 seconds. Um, Lady Fantasy, it has vocals, but the vocals are very low key. They're very just
Yeah,
nothing major, but it fits perfectly because it does not distract from the music and it helps set the mood. But
exactly.
really, the stars of the show here are Peter Bardens and his keyboards. and Mr. Andy Latimer on those gorgeous, smooth, clean guitar lines. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a song. Yes, it has the vocals, but if it didn't, it wouldn't necessarily matter because the instrumental work is so strong. It can carry it. Yeah,
Beautiful. Beautiful. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
yeah, I can hear it in my head now. It's
Yeah.
Once you've heard it a few times, it will
Yeah.
stick.
Oh yeah.
Prog's not always known to be catchy, but yeah, there was a reason that this on the cool FM radio stations here in the States back in the 70s used to actually get some play.
Yeah.
Plus, it would let the DJs go to the bathroom or step outside and smoke a joint or whatever it was they needed to do. So, yeah, Lady Fantasy, which, of course, in true prog tradition, comes in three parts: Encounter, Smiles for You, and Lady Fantasy. You got to have multiple song titles to be a
Of
prog
course.
track,
Of course. What is a prog track without 10 and 12 parts to it? Yeah, I mean, and that's the charm of it, right? I mean, and ladies and gentlemen, if you can get your hands on a copy of Airborne, the massive 32 disc box set of Camel, please do. I have mine. Do you have yours?
Too rich for my blood.
Oh, it
I'd
is
love it, but
amazing. I paid $300 for it.
whew,
I'm still giving blood at the bank, at the blood bank in order to get back money from it. But I mean, it is what it is, right? It's
this
massive.
thing's not feeding itself, Armando. I got to put some money into food.
There you go. There you go. All right. Don't do that again. But that's okay.
I scared off the rest of the audience.
There you go. There you go. We have to carry on, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, my next one, we are going more modern day. We're going to 2015. We're going to Australia with a band by the name of Arcane. They're an offshoot of a band by the name of Caligula's Horse. I won't tell you who recommended Caligula's Horse to me because it isn't worth it. Anyways, the lead singer and guitarist for Caligula's Horse started this band named Arcane, Jim Gray. And this is a massive double disc set called Known Learned, uh, released through Ken Golden's label at the time. Ken Golden, from another show, won't go there. Um, Massive album, double disc set, concept album. This is the track Learned, which ends off disc one, coming in at a mammoth 23 minutes and 16 seconds. Okay. Now, with Arcane, you have basically the work that, a lot of staccato guitar, but also a lot of, I guess you'd say, blistering guitar solos, intricate time signatures. This track alone is talking about the track learned, sorry. It's talking about someone who is questioning a lot of things, okay? His life, his role in his life. Has he done everything that he can in his life? Has he lived up to his potential? Are there things that he could still do in his life? And the theme of home comes up a lot in this one track. Okay. By about midway through the track, there's a lot of acoustic instrumentation that comes in with guitars and also a lot of different time signature changes. This album is quite simply fantastic. You can get this album on uh, Discogs. You can get it on Amazon for like $28. And again, it's from Arcane called Known Learned, the track Learned, which is the final track on disc one. That is my number two.
Cool. I I've been aware of Caligula's Horse for quite a few years, but I used to listen to them a bit years ago. I haven't really checked out their last few, but I had no idea about the connection here.
This is Arcane's last album. Um, Caligula's Horse has released a new album as of late this year, actually, and I just might pick it up after this show, actually. But I digress. Anyways, that's my number two. Fantastic, fantastic, heavy, really heavy, but also very accessible musically. So, just a very angst-filled vocals from Jim Gray, if I can, that makes any sense. Just sort of questioning in this one track everything around him, right? And don't we do that from time to time,
Yeah,
each and every single one of us? So
daily.
daily, yes, but minute by minute in my case, but that's another issue. Dr. Phil's not in the building at this point in time, so we're not going to go there.
All right, yeah, that one's yeah. I'm intrigued now. All right, this is my number 12 minute and 52 second one.
Okay.
Now I'm really gonna screw you up here. I'm just gonna start numbering with the times.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay. Okay.
Right, now this is my last one for this episode. Um, and this one, is it prog? I think so. Some people might not because this band isn't really prog, but they do have prog songs and some prog tendencies. And to go with this shirt,
I knew it.
Grateful Dead. And no, it's not Shakedown Street. That's not the song I'm talking about. That's not prog. But you know what is? Bob Weir and John Barlow's Weather Report suite from this album, Wake of the Flood. Yes. Yeah. This is the picture disc. Yes, you got to show off the picture disc. It looks great, sounds great, looks cool going around, but really though, yeah, Weather Report suite is absolutely brilliant. I think it's Bob Weir's finest moment as a songwriter. I think it's the best thing he ever did with the Grateful Dead. Uh, Normally, Jerry Garcia is the guy that gets all the attention, and he did write most of the songs on this album, but yeah, Bob makes up for lost time. Weather Report Suite's the final track on the album, and as a prog song. I mean, you already got it, the suite in the title, and it has three parts: the prelude, part one, and part two, Let It Grow. I actually kind of prefer the live versions. I know that's kind of a stereotype with the Dead, but the studio version is brilliant. And really, they stopped playing the whole thing live in after 74, I believe. So you got it pretty well. If you're going to find a live version of it, it's got to be 73, 74. After that, they only played part two, which was actually the third part, the Let It Grow section. And that misses a lot of the beauty. Bob composed a lovely acoustic sounding guitar opening. It's very gentle and melodic, and the Let It Grow part is where things really get upbeat. And you have Donna Jean Godchaw, who had recently joined the band along with her husband Keith on keyboards. You have Donna coming in on the vocals to help out here, and she sounds great. A lot of Dead fans don't care for Donna because she gets a bad rap. That's a whole other story. Yeah, if you've never heard of this, and a lot of people haven't, I don't know why they didn't push this, how this didn't become a classic rock staple of some sort. Maybe it's because it's almost 13 minutes long, but that's beside the point. There are other songs. I mean, if you can listen to Do You Feel Like We Do for 14 minutes, surely you can handle Weather Report Suite for a little less than that.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is just a beautiful song. Lyrically, it's kind of like an earthy fable. Uh, it's quite nice. Yeah, if you think the what Touch of Grey or Truckin' or whatever, when you think of the Dead, there's so much more than that. Dig a little deeper. Check out Weather Report Suite. It's on YouTube. Pretty easy to find.
Yep.
Take your 12 minutes and 42 seconds and just kick back and
Have a
check it.
coffee break and listen to it for God's sake. I mean, there you go. Okay, I gotta check that album out too now. Now you're getting me like wanting to go back on Amazon and start looking for stuff. Um, okay. My number one for part ending of part one of our top 30 prog tracks is Yes with Roundabout from Fragile. Now, I was telling Bill about this. There's a reason why it's on this list. Number one, it's a damn good song. Number two, um, I first heard this song when I was 12 years old. 12 years old. Okay. I listened to this on the radio and I just started getting into taping. You know, when you used to tape stuff on cassette off the radio? This song, Roundabout, was the very first song I ever put to tape off Q107 in Toronto. Okay. Back when Q107 was a rock station, but we won't go there. Anyways, I always loved this song, the full 8 minutes and change version. I don't want any edited versions, nothing like that. I want the full Megillah. Give me everything. Give me the entire arrangement. I don't care. I loved it. I loved John Anderson's vocals. I didn't even know what prog music was at that point. At 12 years old, what the hell do you know what prog music is, right? You just know what you like. I love the arrangement. I love the intricacy of Steve Howe's guitar work, the bass work from Chris Squire. I thought it was just an amazing track, and it's for that reason that, along with the fact that it's a fantastic track, that it is number one on my list for part one of top 30 prog tracks. So,
Yeah, that's a great song. I don't care. You hear Yes fans say, "Oh, I don't need to hear Roundabout again." No, wrong. It's great. It's one of those classic rock radio staples that never, ever, ever gets old for me.
not for
And
me.
yes, it has to be the full version. From the very moment Steve's guitar opens that song, that ding, ding, and that instantly grabs me, and I'm sucked in. Okay, yeah, I'm in for the full ride. I'm not going anywhere. And
And
Chris Squire's bass. Oh yeah, yeah. This song's great. Yeah, that single edit was an abomination, but it did at least bring a lot of people into the fold and introduce people to this music. So it was worth it for that.
very much so. And I mean, Chris Squire's playing, bass playing on the Rickenbacker. It's Rickenbacker, not Rickenbacker. Rickenbacker. If you listen to Tom Petty, it's pronounced Rickenbacker bass. Now, his bass playing using the Rickenbacker uh, is just classic. You know who it is. You know that the Rickenbacker bass has a specific sound, a specific tone to it. You know that bass when you hear it, that it's a Rickenbacker bass. Okay. So just an amazing track. And again, that was, as I said, the very first track I recorded on tape off the radio because we all did that back in the day. Oh, I love this
You
song.
know,
Oh,
Armando, you killed the recording industry because I heard home taping was going to kill it. So now I
yes,
know who did it.
yes, it was me.
That's murder, man.
The poor
I'm putting
wop
that
from
smile truck.
Toronto at the age of 12. Okay.
Yeah, I recorded lots. I still somewhere I have all kinds of old tapes off the radio too. I mean, when you're young and broke, what else are you gonna do?
I mean, I remember, yeah, exactly. I remember the day. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was in my room listening to music. I'm like, you know what? I want to start taping some stuff. And that was the first track. And all I remember was the intro keyboard, the ascending keyboard line, and then the guitar comes in, the acoustic guitar, those couple of little notes. And I'm like, okay, this is good. I like this already. And the song hadn't even fully started yet. And I loved it. I'm like, okay, this is great. I love it. Like forget it, game over. Again, I didn't know what prog music was at 12. Again, what do you know? Right. So you just know what sounds good to your ears. So that's basically what it was for me. So, guys, our part one of our top 30 prog tracks. Hopefully, you guys like what you've seen and heard about. And if you haven't heard some of the Italian artists I mentioned, you can listen to them all on YouTube because some of these Italian, you can get them on Discogs as well. But depending where you get it from, it could be quite pricey. So just be careful. You can get them on Amazon too, but just be careful in terms of price point because you don't want to pay. $60 for a single disc album that you may not know too much about or anything at all. So again, don't take our word for it. Stream it on YouTube. And again, down in the comments, down there, down below, let us know what you think of these tracks that we've selected. And again, we've gone all over the map geographically. So I want to thank Mr. Bill Schuster for joining me on this episode. We will be back next time with part 2 and again with part 3. Because you know what? That's how we roll. We do it in parts.
That's a threat.
Come back at your own risk.
Yeah, it's only going to get longer on my end
I'm
all
telling
the
you,
way through.
if we decided to do all these tracks in one episode, it would have been like an entire extended Just for Tell album. I mean, it wouldn't have, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, this is still prog because again, we're doing it in sections. We
exactly.
have 3 sections of this. So.
Exactly. Exactly. And by the way, about Just Hotel, Bursting Out Live is coming out June 21st in a 6-disc set remixed by Stephen Wilson. It's available on Amazon.com. I pre-ordered it, paid $100 for it in Canadian
Ian
dollars.
Anderson. Ian Anderson has gone through and re-recorded all the vocals, by the way.
Really? Okay, see, I didn't even know that.
No, I'm lying. I was just trying to scare people that know Ian has no more voice.
I should have picked up on that, you lying. Okay, there you go. There you go. From the mouths of babes. Okay, there you go. There you go.
Regard what I said, folks.
So, guys, again, check out Bursting Out Live. It's coming out June 21st. Again, it's a Stephen Wilson remix. It's a six disc set. Uh, the entire concert and some a concert on DVD as well from Madison Square Garden. So check it out. Again, it ties in with the prog topic that we're talking about. So please stay tuned for our next episode. I am Armando Venditti saying, have a good day. Please look after yourselves and one another. From Mr. Bill Schuster, goodbye for now.